You want to know the truth. Most people only wake up when something or someone walks out of their life. That's when the panic sets in. That's when the obsession starts. That's when the chase begins. It's pathetic, it's predictable, and it's psychological, because human nature, when stripped raw, is simple. We value what we can't control. We obsess over what we can't hold. And we convince ourselves that something must be more precious if it's running away. Let me stop right here and say, thank you. You've been rocking with me through the entire Avoidant X series. You've watched me break down their patterns, their silence, their rebounds, their panic, their regret. And I know those videos hit you hard, because you finally saw the game for what it was. But today, we're not just talking about your Avoidant X anymore. We're going deeper. We're taking every single thing you learned from that series and weaponizing it. This is about you becoming unbreakable. So listen carefully. Invest this time for yourself once and for all. Not half-hearted, not scrolling, not distracted by another tab. Just you and this video. No skipping, no background noise. This week, the theme is the psychology of love and power. And if you stay locked in with me until the very end, I promise you, your perspective on chasing, attraction, and why people obsess over what walks away will never be the same. Let's get confrontational. You've been lied to your entire life. You were told love is about closeness, that if someone drifts, you pull harder, that if someone ignores you, you prove your worth, that if someone leaves, you better run after them. But that's not love. That's fear. That's addiction. That's the psychology of a slave, chained to validation, chained to approval, chained to the idea that your worth exists in someone else's hands. Epictetus said it perfectly. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Translation: stop performing for them, stop chasing what's running, stop proving. Yet what do people do the second they feel someone slipping away? They double text, they stalk, they beg, they spiral into the same pathetic cycle. Why don't you want me? What did I do wrong? Please come back. Do you realize what that is? It's not love. It's obsession with control. It's the ego screaming, "How dare you not choose me?" And here's the sick twist. When someone pulls away, the brain lights up in the same regions it does when you're addicted to a drug. Studies in neuroscience prove it. Rejection activates the same pain centers as withdrawal. You don't chase them because they're the one. You chase them because your brain is hooked. But here's where the power flips. The moment you stop chasing, the moment you stay silent, the moment you let what wants to walk, that's when you break free. That's when you reclaim power. That's when you become the one they can't stop thinking about. So let's be bold right now. If you're watching this, it means you're tired of being the one chasing, tired of being predictable, tired of acting like a dog begging for scraps. This series, this new journey we're on together, is about turning you into the person who doesn't just survive heartbreak, but transcends it, because the psychology of love and power is brutal. The one who walks away controls the game. The one who chases loses the crown. And if you keep living like a chaser, you will always be beneath the one running. But if you flip the script, if you choose to stand still, to hold frame, to let go, to embrace the silence, you become dangerous. You become magnetic. You become the prize. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free, and there is nothing braver than refusing to run after what does not want you." Now let me speak directly to you, the person still tempted to check that phone, to stalk that Instagram, to wonder why they're not calling. Let me tell you something raw. They left because they believed they could. They left because they assumed you'd be waiting. They left because they thought you would chase. Don't prove them right. Prove them wrong. The more you chase, the more they devalue you. The more you hold still, the more their mind turns against them. And the psychology behind it is simple. Scarcity creates value. The second you're no longer available, no longer accessible, no longer waiting around like a puppy, your absence screams louder than any words you could text. That's the paradox of attraction. The more you withdraw, the more they crave. The more you chase, the more they run. And if you truly understood this, deep in your bones, you would never beg again. So let me set the rules of this series right now. You're not here to binge a random video while cooking or scrolling. You're here to evolve. You're here to face the truths that most people are too weak to look at. You're here to learn how to stop bleeding energy into people who don't deserve it. That requires presence. That requires discipline. That requires you watching this without skipping, without distractions. If you give me your full attention, I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll understand why people chase what walks away. And more importantly, how to never be the one chasing again. This is your reset. This is your edge. This is your moment. Before we go deeper, I want you to do one thing for me. Comment this mantra right now in the comment section. I don't chase, I attract. Say it not for me, not for anyone watching. Say it for yourself, because the moment you type those words, you're declaring war on your old patterns. You're declaring that you're done being desperate. You're done begging. You're done folding. This is your edge. This is your new standard. This is the beginning of the Psychology of Love and Power series, and if you're brave enough to commit, you will not leave this series the same person. One last thing before we continue. If you've been with me through the Avoidant X series, you already know how powerful this knowledge can be. But if you're new here, you're stepping into something different. This isn't just advice. This is transformation. So subscribe right now. Turn on notifications, because I'm not holding back anymore. Every single video in this new series will hit harder, dig deeper, and rip the mask off the games people play in love. Miss one, and you stay blind. Watch all, and you'll never look at relationships the same way again. The choice is yours. So type the mantra, lock in, and let's go deeper. Stay focused. Reason 1. Scarcity creates obsession. You want to know the first reason people chase what walks away? It's simple. Scarcity. When something becomes scarce, the human brain loses all logic. Suddenly, what was once average, normal, and even unnoticed becomes priceless. It's not because the thing itself changed. It's because the supply changed. Think about it. When your avoidant ex was sitting right in front of you, blowing up your phone, dropping little good mornings every day, you got used to it. You expected it. You took it for granted. Maybe you even ignored it sometimes. But the second they pulled away, the second they went silent, the second you felt that gap, your mind screamed, "Wait, where did it go?" That's psychology. That's survival wiring. Humans are programmed to notice loss more than gain. In fact, Nobel Prize-winning research in behavioral economics proves this. Loss aversion makes us feel the pain of losing something twice as strong as the pleasure of gaining it. So when someone walks away, your brain exaggerates their value. It convinces you that this person is suddenly more important than they really were. Not because they're rare, but because their presence just became scarce. Here's the brutal truth. People don't always miss you. They miss the comfort you provided. They miss the dopamine hit of your attention. They miss the certainty of knowing you were there. But the second you walk away, that comfort collapses. That dopamine pipeline shuts down. That certainty turns into chaos, and chaos creates obsession. That's why people chase. They're not chasing love. They're chasing stability. They're not chasing you. They're chasing the feeling they lost. Now flip the script. Why do you chase what walks away? Same reason. Because the second someone cuts access, your brain convinces you they must be worth more. And here's the trap. The more you chase, the more they run. That's why Stoics taught detachment. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The power isn't in controlling them. The power is in controlling your response. Because every time you chase, you're silently telling them, "My value drops when you leave. My worth depends on you being here." And nothing kills attraction faster than that. Let's bring this down to reality. Think about your last breakup. The second they pulled back, didn't your brain start running wild? Didn't your heart race when you saw them post a story without you in it? Didn't you feel that fire in your chest that screamed, "I need them back"? That wasn't love. That was scarcity. If they had texted you all day, begged for your attention, showered you with calls, you wouldn't have felt the same urgency. But the silence, the absence, the space, that's what drove you crazy. And here's the kicker. They know this. Whether consciously or not, avoidance use distance as a weapon. They vanish to inflate their value. They withdraw to create scarcity. And the weaker you are, the more you chase. But here's where the power flips. The second you stop chasing, suddenly you become the scarce one. Suddenly you are the one they can't get. Suddenly your silence is the drug they crave. That's the psychology of love and power. Whoever can create scarcity controls the frame. So, let me ask you, are you going to keep playing the fool, chasing someone who's walking away? Or are you going to become the scarce one, the rare one, the one they can't touch? Because here's the truth. Scarcity creates obsession. But if you're the one always available, always chasing, always proving, you'll never be scarce. You'll be common. And common things never get chased. Psych studies even back this up. Research in consumer behavior shows people will pay up to 300% more for an item labeled limited edition compared to the exact same item without the label. Why? Scarcity. The object itself didn't change, only the perception did. Now, imagine applying that to love. You don't need to become cold. You don't need to play games. But you do need to understand this. The moment you stop being everywhere, your presence skyrockets in value. The moment you stop chasing, your energy multiplies. The moment you stop giving them free access, you become the prize. So reason number one, why people chase what walks away: scarcity. And if you don't master this lesson, you'll spend your life running after people who already told you with their actions they don't want to be caught. Be scarce, be rare, be the one who doesn't fold when someone leaves. Because the second you do that, they'll feel the same panic you once did. And that's how you flip the power. Reason 2. Ego can't handle rejection. Let's cut the fluff. The second reason people chase what walks away is brutal. Your ego can't handle rejection. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't lie to yourself. You weren't chasing because they were your soulmate. You were chasing because your pride took a bullet. See, most people walk around with this unspoken belief. If I give someone my time, my energy, my love, they owe me loyalty. So when that person pulls away, the ego goes into DEFCON 1. How dare you not want me? Don't you see how valuable I am? Don't you realize no one else could give you what I gave you? That's not love talking. That's pride. That's entitlement. That's the ego throwing a tantrum. And here's the dangerous part. Your ego doesn't care about truth. Your ego doesn't care if the relationship was toxic. Your ego doesn't care if they were draining your soul. The ego only cares about one thing: winning. So when they walk away, your mind frames it as a game. You must chase, you must convince, you must prove, because if you don't, You feel like you lost. But let me tell you something powerful. The real loss isn't when they walk away. The real loss is when you abandon your dignity to chase them. Think about gladiators in the Roman arena. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king himself, would watch men fight to the death not because they wanted to, but because their pride, their honor, demanded it. Pride made them walk into battles they didn't need to fight. That's the same thing you do every time you chase someone who left. You walk into an emotional arena, swinging wildly, desperate to win back something that doesn't even want to be won. For what? So your ego can breathe. So you can say, "See, I wasn't rejected after all." That's weakness disguised as pride. Here's the psychology. Humans crave status. We want to feel chosen. We want to feel superior. And rejection threatens that status. It whispers, maybe you're not good enough. Maybe you're not wanted. Maybe you're replaceable. And instead of facing that whisper, most people drown it out by chasing, by begging, by performing. But Seneca warned us, he who is brave is free. The brave man doesn't chase. The brave man doesn't fold. The brave man doesn't let rejection define his worth. Because rejection isn't proof you're worthless. Rejection is proof they couldn't see your worth. Let me make this personal for you. Think about the last time someone rejected you, ghosted, blocked, pulled away. Didn't your chest tighten? Didn't your thoughts spiral? Didn't you feel that itch to prove them wrong? That wasn't because they were the one. That wasn't divine destiny slipping away. That was your ego screaming, "Don't let me lose." And here's the harsh reality. Chasing to soothe your ego is like drinking seawater when you're dying of thirst. It feels like relief in the moment, but it only makes you weaker. Do you know what destroys the ego? Silence, acceptance, stillness. When you don't chase, your ego burns. It screams at you. It feels like death. But in that fire, you transform. Because here's the paradox. The second you can accept rejection without chasing, you stop being rejectable. You become untouchable. You become free. You become someone they can't toy with. That's when the power flips. That's when they look back and think, wait, why didn't they come after me? Why aren't they begging? Did I misjudge their value? That's when obsession sets in. Not because you chased, but because you didn't. Psych studies back this too. Research shows that people experience a spike in obsessive thoughts after being rejected, but only when they believe the rejection reflects on their self-worth. When they detach, when they see it as simply a mismatch, the obsession fades. So chasing doesn't fix rejection, it magnifies it, and the ego, the fragile little tyrant inside your chest, wins again. But if you hold the line, if you stay still, if you resist the urge to prove, suddenly the rejection doesn't break you, it builds you. So reason number 2, why people chase what walks away, because their ego can't handle rejection. But let me be clear, if you let your ego drive your decisions, you will always chase, always beg, always crawl. The only way out? Kill the ego. Kill the need to prove. Kill the story that rejection means you're less. Because the second you do that, you stop being the chaser. You stop being the desperate one. You stop being the fool in the arena, fighting for scraps of validation. Instead, you become the one who chooses, the one who controls, the one who walks away first. And that's when you stop chasing. Before we move into the next reason, type it in the comments again. I don't chase, I attract. Every time you write it, you're retraining your brain. You're starving the ego. You're breaking the addiction. This isn't just a video. It's a war against your old self. Reason 3. The brain confuses absence with value. Here's the third reason people chase what walks away. Your brain is a liar. It confuses absence with value. Read that again. Just because something is missing doesn't mean it was worth keeping. But the brain doesn't care. The brain panics. The brain assumes if it's gone, it must have been priceless. That's not truth. That's faulty wiring. And most people live their entire lives enslaved to that illusion. Let me prove it to you. Think about someone you used to date, the one who broke your heart, ghosted you, or pulled the rug from under your feet. The second they left, didn't your brain suddenly glorify them? Didn't you only remember the good moments? Didn't you edit the film in your head so the highlights shined while the red flags vanished? That's the brain twisting absence into value. It's not about who they really were. It's about what you lost. Psychologists call this rosy retrospection, a bias that makes people remember past events as more positive than they actually were. When someone leaves, your memory puts them on a pedestal they never deserved. So you chase, not because they're irreplaceable, but because your brain is painting a lie. Here's the brutal truth. If they were that valuable, they wouldn't have walked. If they were that rare, you wouldn't have had to chase. If they were truly worth it, they'd still be in your corner. Absence doesn't equal value, but people who don't understand this spend their lives chasing ghosts. Let me hit you harder. Imagine a diamond lying in the dirt. Rare, valuable, timeless. Now imagine a cheap piece of glass someone drops on the floor. Worthless, replaceable. If both disappear, your brain reacts the same way. It's gone. Must have been important. That's how irrational the mind is. The absence of something doesn't prove its worth, it only proves its absence. And if you can't tell the difference, you'll waste your life chasing glass. This is why avoidant partners mess people up so badly. They disappear, and suddenly the one who gave you breadcrumbs feels like royalty. You're not addicted to them. You're addicted to the space they left. You're not drawn to their love. You're drawn to the withdrawal. It's like caffeine withdrawal. You don't chase coffee because it's divine. You chase it because your body screams when it's gone. That's not value. That's dependence. Marcus Aurelius said, "It is not things that upset us, but our judgments about things." Your heartbreak isn't about them. It's about the judgment your brain made when they left. Your obsession isn't about their value. It's about the meaning your mind attached to their absence. And if you don't learn to challenge those judgments, you'll be stuck in the same cycle forever, running after what walks away while convincing yourself it must be precious because it's not in your hands anymore. Let me get real with you. How many times have you looked back at someone you once chased, months, maybe years later, and thought, what the hell was I doing? Why did I waste so much energy on them? Exactly. That's proof right there. They weren't rare. They weren't priceless. They weren't the one. Your brain just tricked you into believing they were, because they were gone. Absence inflated their price. Scarcity created illusion. And you bought the lie. But here's the power move. The moment you realize absence doesn't equal value, you break the cycle. You stop running after every shadow. You stop equating silence with superiority. You stop mistaking distance for depth. Because the truth is simple. If they were really valuable, they'd be present. If they were really priceless, they'd choose you. If they were truly aligned with you, they wouldn't walk away in the first place. Here's what happens when you don't chase. Your brain screams, your ego aches, your heart pounds. But eventually, it calms, it rewires, it adjusts. And one day you look back and realize they weren't worth half the energy I gave them. That's clarity. That's freedom. That's power. So reason number 3, why people chase what walks away. Because the brain confuses absence with value. But now you know better. Now you see the trick. Now you can flip the script. And the next time someone disappears, don't glorify them. Don't chase them. Don't pedestal them. Call it what it is. Absence, not value. Before we move on, I want you to reinforce this truth in the comments. Type it. Absence isn't value. I am. Say it. Type it. Claim it. Because the second you believe that, you'll never waste another tear, another call, or another ounce of energy chasing what walks away. Reason 4. Silence triggers their survival instincts. Here's the fourth reason people chase what walks away. Silence feels like death. Let me explain. Humans are tribal creatures. From the beginning of history, survival depended on belonging. If you were excluded, ignored, abandoned, you died. Wolves picked you off. Hunger starved you out. Isolation meant extinction. Fast forward thousands of years, and your brain still runs on that same primitive code. So when someone you're bonded to pulls away, when they stop responding, when silence hits, you don't just miss them. Your body goes into survival mode. Your nervous system screams danger, abandonment, threat. That's why people chase. They're not just chasing attention, they're fighting off the ancient fear of death by isolation. Here's the raw truth. Most people mistake that survival panic for love. But it's not love, it's biology. It's your nervous system hijacking your choices. That's why people double text, call late at night, beg for explanations. It's not rational, it's instinct. Silence feels like a predator, and chasing feels like survival. Modern psychology backs this. Studies on attachment theory show that when bonds break, the brain triggers the same pathways as physical pain. That's why heartbreak hurts in your chest. That's why silence feels unbearable. That's why rejection makes people shake, sweat, and spiral. But here's the kicker. If you don't master this response, you'll confuse survival panic with attraction, and you'll spend your life chasing ghosts. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone crawl back to a toxic ex, not because they were treated well, but because silence drove them insane? How many people beg for attention from someone who abused them, ignored them, or replaced them? That's not love. That's survival instinct. That's trauma dressed up as devotion. And the people who can't separate the two will always be slaves to silence. But here's where the power flips. If you can hold still through silence, if you can resist the panic, sit with the discomfort, breathe through the emptiness, you unlock something most people never experience: freedom. Because silence that once felt like death suddenly becomes power. It becomes leverage. It becomes the space where you realize, I didn't die, I didn't collapse, I didn't lose myself. And that realization makes you untouchable. Seneca said it beautifully. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Your fear of silence is always worse than silence itself. Your panic about abandonment is always more painful than the actual absence. But once you survive it once, without chasing, you learn the truth. Silence can't kill you. In fact, silence saves you, because silence forces clarity. Silence exposes truth. Silence shows you who was really for you, and who only stayed because you made it easy. Let me challenge you. Think back to your avoidant ex. Didn't silence drive you mad? Didn't their disappearing act make you spiral? Didn't you mistake your survival panic for proof that you couldn't live without them? But look at you now. You're here. You survived. You didn't die. And if you're honest, you're stronger. That's the paradox. Silence feels like death in the moment, but in reality, it's the birth of power. This is why people chase what walks away, because silence hijacks the system. But here's the difference between the weak and the strong. The weak chase to soothe the panic. The strong sit with it, master it, and come out sharper. When you master silence, you stop being the chaser. You stop being the panicked one. You stop being the desperate fool dialing someone who already walked out the door. Instead, you become the one they can't stop thinking about, the one whose silence rattles them, the one who doesn't fold under pressure. That's when the chase flips. So, reason number 4, why people chase what walks away. Because silence triggers their survival instincts. But if you're brave enough to resist that panic, you'll discover something life-changing. Silence doesn't kill. It crowns. It makes you stronger than rejection, stronger than abandonment, stronger than the person who walked away. Before we move into the next reason, comment this mantra right now. Silence is my power. Type it. Own it. Because the second you believe that, silence stops being your prison and starts becoming your throne. Reason 5. People mistake validation for love. Here's the 5th reason people chase what walks away. Most people can't tell the difference between love and validation. Read that again because it's heavy. What you thought was love wasn't. It was attention. It was validation. It was proof you mattered. And when that proof disappeared, you didn't grieve love. You grieved the loss of validation. Let's get real. You didn't chase them because they were your perfect match. You chased them because their presence told you, I'm wanted, I'm enough, I'm chosen. And when they left, the silence told you the opposite. Maybe I'm not wanted, maybe I'm not enough, maybe I'm replaceable. That's not heartbreak. That's identity crisis. Here's the truth nobody wants to admit. Most relationships aren't love stories. They're validation contracts. I'll give you attention if you give me attention. I'll make you feel special if you make me feel special. It works until someone stops holding up their end. And when they walk away, you don't miss them. You miss the way they validated you. You miss the mirror they held up that said, you matter. That's why you chase. Not because they're irreplaceable, but because they were the dealer supplying your drug. Psychology proves it. Research shows that social rejection activates the same regions in the brain as physical pain, but it also lights up reward pathways, the same ones linked to cravings and addiction. Translation, you weren't just attached. You were addicted to the validation they gave you. And when they walked, your brain screamed for another hit. So you chased, not out of love, but out of withdrawal. Marcus Aurelius once said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." What does that mean here? It means real love isn't about validation. It's about growth. But most people never begin to live because they confuse being wanted with being loved. Think about it. How many times have you stayed in something toxic, not because it was good for you, but because at least someone wanted you? How many times have you chased someone cold, distant, avoidant, just because their attention felt like proof that you were enough? That's not love. That's weakness. That's not connection. That's ego. That's not intimacy. That's fear. And until you admit that, you'll always be the one chasing. Let me put it in raw terms. If you only feel valuable when someone else validates you, you're not in love. You're in bondage. You're a prisoner to their approval. They smile. You rise. They ignore. You crumble. They leave. You chase. And that cycle will never end until you cut the cord between love and validation. Here's the power shift. When you stop needing validation, you stop chasing. When you know your worth before they ever text you, you stop begging. When you can look in the mirror and say, "I matter whether they stay or not," you become unbreakable. That's the difference between weak love and strong love. Weak love says, "I need you to prove I matter." Strong love says, "I already know I matter, and if you're aligned, let's build." One chases, the other attracts. Think back to your avoidant ex. Was it really love that kept you there, or was it the validation of knowing that, even though they were distant, sometimes they came back, sometimes they chose you, sometimes they gave you just enough attention to keep you hooked? That wasn't love. That was a slot machine. That was a casino in your chest, pulling the lever, waiting for the hit. And the second the machine went dark, you chased. But here's the truth. Real love doesn't require chasing. Real love doesn't make you beg. Real love doesn't keep you hooked like an addict. So reason number 5, why people chase what walks away. Because they confuse validation for love. But once you separate the two, you're free. Love becomes about choice, not desperation. Love becomes about alignment, not addiction. Love becomes about growth, not proof. Before we roll into the next reason, comment this right now. I am love. I don't need validation. Say it, type it, own it, because the moment you live by that truth, you'll never chase another person for the scraps of attention they call love. Stop chasing. Start becoming. So let's bring this home. We've ripped apart the psychology of why people chase what walks away: scarcity, ego, absence, silence, validation. And by now, you've seen the ugly truth. Chasing isn't about love. It's about fear. It's about weakness. It's about illusions your brain sold you because it couldn't handle loss. But here's the thing. Loss is freedom. Rejection is redirection. Silence is your superpower. And the moment you stop chasing, you step into a version of yourself most people will never touch. Look, I know how easy it is to fall into that cycle, to see them slipping away and feel your chest tighten, to feel the panic rising, to tell yourself, if I just try harder, if I just prove myself, if I just hold on a little longer, they'll come back. But let me ask you, how many times has that actually worked? How many times has chasing brought them back with respect, with loyalty, with commitment? Exactly. Never. Chasing doesn't bring them closer. It pushes them farther. Begging doesn't make them love you. It makes them despise you. Proving doesn't make you chosen. It makes you replaceable. And I refuse to let you keep living like that. Here's what I want you to hear, deep in your bones. You don't need to chase. You don't need to beg. You don't need to prove. Because what's meant for you cannot be scared away. And what walks away was never yours in the first place. That's not a loss. That's a filter. That's the universe removing the weak so you can become strong. That's life clearing the path so you can evolve. And if you're brave enough to stop chasing, you'll discover the truth. The ones who are meant for you, the ones aligned with your soul, the ones capable of real love. They don't run when things get hard. They stay. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." I'll take that one step further. If they don't choose you, don't chase them. If they don't value you, don't fight for them. If they walk away, let them go. Because chasing is not love. Chasing is not strength. Chasing is not your destiny. Your destiny is becoming. Your destiny is attracting. Your destiny is stepping into the psychology of love and power, not as a chaser, but as the one who sets the standard. Now let me be real with you. This was just the beginning. This series is going to take everything you thought you knew about relationships, attraction, and human psychology, and flip it upside down. You've seen what the Avoidant X series did for you. You saw yourself in it. You broke patterns. You started to understand. But this is where you stop studying them and start transforming you. And if you're serious about becoming unbreakable, about mastering love and power, you need to stay locked in. No skipping, no half-watching, no distractions. Subscribe right now. Turn on notifications, because every video in this series will build on the last. Miss one, and you'll be left behind. Watch them all, and you'll never chase again. Now, before you go, I want you to comment one final mantra to seal this video. I don't chase, I become. Type it, declare it, claim it, because this is bigger than them, bigger than heartbreak, bigger than rejection. This is your transformation. And remember, this is not the end. This is the foundation, the first stone laid in the empire of your evolution. They thought you'd break when they walked away. They thought silence would crush you. They thought you'd come crawling back. But you're still here. You're stronger. And from this moment on, you don't chase. You attract. You embody. You become. This is the psychology of love and power. Welcome to the next level. I'll see you in the next video.